Alright, this last screencast, this is screencast number 4 for Unit 5, Lesson 1. This last screencast, I'm actually just going to spend a few minutes with you walking through the features of the simulation that you're going to do in the next few days. There's actually 1 or 2 activities that we're going to do before we do this simulation, but I figured you could go ahead and take a look at it if you wanted, and I would talk you through a few things. Alright. This main large black area shows the Earth in its orbital path around the Sun. These labels I don't think are going to be very helpful to you, so I wouldn't worry about those. Okay, and I would make sure that you select orbital view instead of the celestial sphere. Okay, you want to keep the box that's checked that says show subsolar point. Subsolar point is just the point on the Earth that is directly below the Sun. It would be where on Earth do you have to be standing for the Sun to be directly overhead. That's the subsolar point. Okay. We have talked about zenith latitude, and that was just specifying the latitude that you would have to be at, for instance, for the Sun to go directly over your head. If you'll notice over here on this smaller black diagram, that right here is the subsolar point that I'm talking about. Okay, it's the point on the Earth where the Sun's rays are coming in from directly overhead. Okay, so this over here is showing you the orbital path that the Earth is taking. Notice that the axis of rotation is always going to be tilted this way. Okay, right now we're experiencing late winter, early spring. If I move it now, you see it's still pointing off in the same direction. It's always pointing towards the North Star. If I move it way over here, okay, now we have the northern hemisphere tipped more directly into the Sun. Southern hemisphere is tipped more away from the Sun because we're having summer and they're having winter. Notice over here, it's showing you the same thing, but instead of the Earth being tilted as it is over here, they're moving, or it appears that the Sun's rays are moving, and the Sun's rays really aren't moving. It's just really the Earth is tilted on its axis, but what they're doing is they're showing you the Earth with the axis straight up and down here. Okay, I can drag this guy up or down to put him at whatever latitude I want to look at. Okay, I think on this diagram labels are helpful. Okay, South Pole, Antarctic Circle, it's a green line that's kind of hard to see. Tropic of Capricorn, the equator, Tropic of Cancer, the Arctic Circle, North Pole. Okay, and again, these yellow arrows are just showing you incoming radiation from the Sun. Okay, make sure that you keep it clicked on view from the side. The view from the Sun is, it would look like this, for instance. Okay, I think it's a little more helpful to do it this way, but whatever. Down here you have 2 choices, and both of these choices actually are very helpful. For late June at the equator, okay, the Sun is coming in at a little bit of an angle. Okay, shows you the Sun's altitude, meaning how high off the horizon does it get. Okay, that's what these arrows are showing you. How direct is the sunlight at that particular location. This other one that you can click, sunbeam spread, shows you how spread out that sunlight is that's coming in. Remember we said because of the Earth's spherical shape, sometimes, depending on your location, sometimes you're getting really, really direct sunlight, concentrated sunlight, and sometimes it's the same amount of sunlight is having to be spread over a larger area. Okay, so for instance, watch what happens to this if I take this guy and drag him down here towards the poles. You see that the same amount of sunlight has to be spread over a much larger area, so it's more indirect sunlight. Okay, anyway, you're going to play with this simulation and do some activities over it, but I'll just start the simulation, let you see what happens. They're going to show you over here how the Earth is moving in its orbital path. They don't show you the spinning of the Earth because it would be going so fast that it would just kind of be dizzying. Okay, they do show you the subsolar point, if you can see it. Over here they're showing you the same thing, except for this time it looks like the sun is moving, which it's really not. It's just that the Earth should be tilted on its axis. Remember that this boundary line here between daylight and darkness is known as the terminator. Okay. You'll get an activity that'll go with this, that'll kind of walk you through so that you can see what happens over the course of the year at different latitudes. Okay. Before I leave this simulation, I do want to point out the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn over here. If we play this simulation and you watch the subsolar point, okay, the highest that subsolar point ever gets is the Tropic of Cancer. Okay, so the Tropic of Cancer marks the latitude that is the northernmost latitude that experiences direct sun, the direct sunlight. Okay, and now we're going into winter for the northern hemisphere and summer for the southern hemisphere, and you'll notice that the subsolar point is making its way down towards the Tropic of Capricorn, which is the latitude that marks the southernmost point where direct sunlight can be received. Okay. All right. So in the course of the screencasts for Lesson 1, I think I've actually defined all of the words that you needed that weren't actually in your lesson. Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. I haven't actually talked about what the ecliptic is. The ecliptic, if you could imagine the background of stars, okay, the background of stars along this line that the Earth seems to follow, or from our perspective that the sun seems to go through, that's the ecliptic. Okay, it's the imaginary line through the stars that the sun seems to move through over the course of the year. And that's basically what the zodiac is too. It's the zodiac is the band of constellations that the sun appears to go through, or that planets appear to go through during the course of a year. Okay, but that's also in the dictionary that I marked for you. Okay. Okay, so I am now back to the beginning of Lesson 1, and I have added 1 or 2 vocabulary words that weren't originally there. So if you're not paying attention and you didn't listen to all the screencasts, you're probably not going to see this. But since you are, you need to add subsolar point. Remember, it's just the point on the Earth that is where the sun is directly overhead. Okay, so that was another vocabulary word that I needed you to add. And that should do it for Lesson 1.